Estamos ao vivo. Vamos aguardar um pouquinho as pessoas chegarem para a gente compartilhar com vocês uma live, uma entrevista muito gostosa, uma conversa muito, muito especial. Vou compartilhar aqui. Bora, Biro! Boa noite, gente! Boa noite a todos, bem-vindos. Mais um encontro nosso nessa terça-feira para aquecer os corações, para a gente aquecer esse amor todo e compartilhar de alguma forma com todos essas histórias maravilhosas com Osho. Abiro, fala, meu amor.
Em primeiro lugar, boa noite a todos que nos assistem ao vivo. Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite para os demais que nos assistirem depois, que é bastante gente sempre. Eu vou começar pelo dever de casa.
É importante.
Com os avisos. Em primeiro lugar, os avisos. A gente, a partir de algumas lives atrás, a gente quer deixar claro, e sempre vai falar, que nós não representamos nenhum centro de meditação oficial do Osho, nenhum canal oficial do Osho, não somos porta-voz da Osho Global Connections ou da Osho, da Fundação Osho, enfim. Nós somos apenas um grupo de amigos que adora se encontrar, que adora Osho e adora contar histórias e se divertir junto. Então, basicamente é isso. Quem quiser saber sobre a Osho.com, tem um site, é bem bacana. Tem todos os vídeos, os livros do Osho. Uma visita à Puna pode ser muito linda para quem quiser conhecer o local, né? Com aquela energia linda lá, com pirâmides e tal. Enfim, e tem o Osho.com, que as pessoas podem consultar na internet, né? Enfim, está tudo lá.
Está tudo
bem
lá.
bacana. Mas
aqui
agora a gente...
Histórias com Osho para você saber tudo o que aconteceu com essas pessoas. Como foi que
aconteceu e que acontece.
Como foi que Osho foi catando essas pessoas pelo mundo.
Mas então... seguimos agora com a segunda parte aqui do dever de casa, os agradecimentos. Miguel Fine, com todo o trabalho gráfico, a arte da divulgação, muito bacana. Marisa Rotenberg, com edição de áudio e vídeo e legendas. A gente tem algumas outras internacionais para trazer, já tem uma pessoa que a gente vai gravar semana que vem, mas não vamos revelar por enquanto. Mas a nave de Osho, mais um dever de casa, uma recomendação. Alguém citou que as legendas que foram colocadas, a pessoa está falando em inglês conosco, né? As legendas foram colocadas e são melhor visualizadas em aparelhos desktop ou mesmo notebook, dá para ver melhor a legenda. E quem estiver vendo pelo celular e não puder ver pelo notebook ou pelo desktop, que coloque o aparelho na posição horizontal, que vai conseguir ler melhor, tá bem?
É verdade.
Então, feito o dever de casa, cá estamos na 20º encontro. Isso é uma maravilha. Olha, a gente não está desconsiderando um momento muito difícil que se atravessa para todos nós, e tem muita gente que está passando muita dificuldade, tem muita dor, mas a gente, ao mesmo tempo, esses encontros para mim têm sido um bálsamo, como eu estou sempre dizendo, repetindo, no ar e fora dele. Me faz muito bem, a gente consegue abstrair, se divertir. Muita gente nos dá feedbacks muito bacanas também com relação a isso. Nós temos já pessoal que não perde uma, tem uma turma aí que está sempre com a gente, nos ajuda a divulgar também. Então, os abraços ficam dados aqui para todos. Vamos embora então, né, Didi? Os avisos dados, agora é com você. Quiser falar mais alguma coisa?
Eu só quero falar como é bom estar aqui né? Nessa minha posição agora de novo, não sou eu mais a entrevistada, né? Nem foi semana passada, mas agora eu volto a sentar aqui nessa cabine, né? E que esse encontro com o Rahasya foi muito especial, muito bonito, e eu espero que vocês gostem, né? E fiquem tão derretidos quanto a gente ficou. Você falou dos agradecimentos todos, mas eu quero evidenciar o trabalho teu e da Marisa em fazer a legenda. Não é fácil fazer legenda de vídeo, e os dois sentaram horas por dia para colocar as legendas certinho, tudo. Então, é tudo caseiro, gente. A gente faz tudo aqui com o que temos ao nosso redor, com a ajuda dos nossos companheiros, e tentando fazer uma coisa muito gostosa para esse encontro sempre ter essa coisa que a gente está sentindo a cada semana, né? Que é mais e mais esse encontro de amor, né?
Esse encontro, essas edições de vídeo que a gente fica fazendo, colocando legenda, enfim, fizemos já com a Samvara, né? Que foi uma coisa, um deleite para a gente fazer, e não precisou colocar a legenda. Com o Rahasya envolveu também a legenda, a edição de vídeo, a legenda, que é uma coisa que ela demora para fazer, é um trabalho extenso, mas muito prazeroso, porque são encontros muito especiais. Bom, eu não preciso falar mais nada.
Vocês querem ver? Não vou pôr. Está na minha mão. Bora lá? Bora lá, que não vejo a hora de mostrar para vocês. Na verdade, eu estou aqui fazendo um mistério, um suspense.
Gente, antes, não esqueça, quando acabar o vídeo, voltem, porque a gente vai se despedir e dar recados, tá bem?
Mandar beijo, essas coisas. Abraçar aqui virtualmente, pela conexão maior. Bora lá? Vou preparar os trem aqui. Tanta gente, Abira, eu estou vendo aqui as pessoas chegando, cara. Muita gente chegando aqui, muito gostoso, assistindo. Venham, 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 pega, agora senta em meditação, senta em silêncio, e a gente vai compartilhar uma conversa muito gostosa. Vamos lá, é aqui, é aqui, é aqui. Vamos ver se está tudo ok. Desativa som e vídeo, Bi. E bora.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, beloved.
Hello, Sunny.
Hello, hi.
I have a few problems with the internet, so we may get disconnected, but can you hear me well like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday we have this, we call Tales with Osho. We did it with Samvara.
Right.
2 weeks ago, was very beautiful. Then I asked for your phone. I remember you. Two things about you. I remember your satsang in São Paulo once, I think Sita's house. Kelly was connected to you. She's my friend. She invited. I appreciated it very much. And I've heard someone saying that you are an Osho flower. So I love that so much, and we want to hear this story. How did you meet Osho and things like that, okay?
Okay, so well, lovely to meet you and to see you. So where do I start, maybe I start at the very beginning, because I remember as a kid already, I was really wondering why people don't just love each other. It's so obvious that we are here to love each other, but the world showed something else. So I can remember since a kid I was looking for more freedom, more presence, more lovingness. So that brought me into all sorts of wild adventures and travels. And then with Osho, basically, you may have heard that I was working as a doctor, so I studied medicine, and I worked in Germany in a beautiful hospital at the Bodensee. I think the most beautiful place you can be, but I was unhappy. So they offered me a big post in the emergency medicine department and a 5-year contract. And I felt, no, this is too much. This is too much of a prison. So I had worked a lot, so I took all my money and my girlfriend at the time, and we said, let's go to the Himalayas mountain climbing. So we were flying to India and then went to Ladakh and did some long trekkings, and then we went to Nepal and did many, many beautiful treks. And finally, when the season was over, we went to Khajuraho. I don't know if you know Khajuraho. It has this amazing tantric temples, with beautiful statues. And there we met a German couple that were reading a book, and they couldn't stop. They didn't even go to the temples. They just read this book. And then, I asked, well, what kind of book is this? It says, well, this is a book from a German sannyasin, Satyananda, who was a stern reporter for the most famous magazine in Germany. And he wrote a book about Pune. And so we asked them if they borrow us the book, but they were leaving the next day. So my girlfriend and I, we were reading the whole night through Satyananda's book. And then we thought, wow, if only half of it is true, then we have to go to Pune, because we were already in India. I don't think I had some obvious spiritual aspirations. Even though in 1971, when I was 21, I went with a few friends with a Volkswagen bus to India. I don't know why I went to India, but it was, and we visited all these temples and monasteries, and I was very touched. But and when I crossed the border from Pakistan to India, I felt I'm home. I was crying as a young man. I said, why are you crying? India, it's wet, it's monsoon, it's dirty, and I feel so touched. So I had some connection to India. Anyway, then we went, that was in 1980, we went to Pune. And we stayed there for 2 months, and I did the first group. And it was incredible. It was like it was not all easy and beautiful, because I was a young, arrogant doctor thinking I know everything. So I come to Pune with thousands of red-clothed sannyasins bowing down to this guru, and I was full of judgments. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't feel that there's anything in there for me until a friend invited me for the evening lecture. And that was an incredible experience, because, my judgmental mind was very cautious. And then when Osho started talking, I felt, my God, this is what my heart knows to be true, but I never heard anybody say it. And here this strange-looking Indian man is saying what my heart says. So, you know, that confusion, like there's a different body in an Indian kind of body that speaks me. So it was me speaking there and here, and it was very confusing, but also very touching. So I felt there is something that I need to explore further. So we stayed for 2 months, but I was still rebellious. I didn't want to take sannyas. I was dressed in white. Everybody was in red, and everybody told me I should take sannyas, and I didn't want to. So, so I think the 3 days before leaving, I felt, well, maybe I want to take sannyas just because Osho will talk to me then. I don't need to be a sannyasi. That was very tricky. I had a very tricky mind. so I applied for sannyas, and Osho talked to me for 20 minutes, told me a long story about how I am in a prison and society has imprisoned me, and the only way to get out of prison is through meditation and through being with the master. And then he asked me, well, how long are you going to stay? And I said, I'm leaving in 2 days because we wanted to go back to the Himalayas. And then he stood up and said with an incredible force, well, if you leave in 2 days, this is just enough to put you back into prison. You have to come back. So we continued traveling. That was April. And in June, we were in Bali, and we had already thinking of continuing to Australia and to America. And then we said, no, we have to go back to Pune. And then I would say then my real sannyas started. Before that, it was kind of my tricky mind playing tricks. So we went back to Pune, and then we asked Arup at the time to, program some groups for us. And that was an intense time because for 2 months, we were in different groups, my girlfriend Angelika in different, and I in different. And my last group was Vipassana 10 days, 10 days sitting in silence. And it drove me crazy, but it was also beautiful. So I had all these fantasies about marrying my girlfriend when I come out, and I was looking so much forward to see her, and I felt kind of very clean through the meditation. So I came out of the 10 days Vipassana and come into my room, and I found a letter in my room on the bed. And the letter says, thank you so much for 10 beautiful years. I fell in love with another man. So that was kind of, that was such a shock. That was so impossible to even conceive. And then I saw them, every day in the ashram, and I said, this is impossible. So I booked myself a ticket to Goa. And on the way to Goa, I got so sick with vomiting and diarrhea and so on. So I arrived in Goa, and I knew a family there that lived at the beach, an Indian family in a sweet little house. So they gave me a room, and I was kind of, I think, for a whole week, I thought, okay, this is like dying. I'm just going to die now. And it was strange because in one way it was very painful because I was so weak, I couldn't move. And in another way, I was lying at the beach under palm trees in total bliss. And I couldn't get these two things together. But the Indian family was nourishing me very well. And so slowly I came back. And then a completely new life started, you know. It was very, very beautiful. It was almost like my whole past got erased. And now I was in Goa, alone and free, and there were all these beautiful sannyas women around, and I had a few romances, and then I felt, well, now I think I can go back to Pune. So then I stayed in Pune, and I did a few more courses, and I also worked in the medical center. And it was very beautiful, and I fell in love with a French girl. But then my money ran out. So then I needed to go back to Germany. And in Germany, after half a year, I did a lot of work to earn money again to go back to Pune. But then there was a German commune where Siddhartha just had bought a castle in Germany. I don't know if you have heard about Raschnistadt, German.
No.
We were 100 sannyasins buying this castle, and then I became the medical doctor there.
Wow. When was it precisely?
That was in 81, beginning 82, where I moved into the castle. And then, of course, Osho moved to America. And then after a few years, I felt, oh, I don't want to be in Germany. I want to be where Osho is. So in 1983, I found a place. I went to the ranch to be with Osho. And 83 was the most beautiful year on the ranch. Later, it got a bit weird with Sheila and the whole story.
Yes.
It wasn't so clean and clear anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went I went every year to Rajneeshpuram until 85. And by then we had sold the castle because Sheila wanted to close that. And a therapist at the time, being every weekend in a different Osho commune in Europe, in London and in Switzerland and in Germany and in France. And I was every weekend somewhere else. And somehow I felt my time in the commune is ending. And so in 85, 3 days before Sheila left the ranch, I left the commune in Cologne with my girlfriend, with my new girlfriend, Nora.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an interesting time, because there were this split situation. There were the good sannyasins that were in the commune, and there were the rebellious sannyasins that were not in the commune. And and I felt, well, I'm more the rebellious sannyasin. So I went with Nura, my beautiful love, and her child. I went to Hawaii for 3 months. And in Hawaii, we were wondering what do we want to do now? We are free. We want to go skiing. So I used to be a good skier. So we organized skiing and meditation courses because we didn't have any money. And then what else do we want to do? We want to go sailing. So I used to be a good sailor. So we organized sailing and meditation courses in Greece. I was chartering for 6 years every year a yacht, and we had beautiful crew. Until one day we heard that Osho is back in Pune. Then we dropped everything. We canceled all our plans and went to Pune. I mean, there's a long story around that too, how we managed to just get enough money to be half a year in Pune, and then would be bankrupt. But somebody in Pune who did a course with me in Pune actually invited me to Sweden. And anyway, there was a lot of grace making it possible that Nora and I could be in Pune half of the year traveling for courses, and we could get our son in the Osho school in England. So that was quite amazing. So we were 10 years in Pune. And by then so many sannyasins had left after Osho left the body and went to Papaji. And I felt, no, if I cannot flower with Osho, then there will be nobody I can flower with. No? So at a certain point that was 1995. I think 1995, Nora and I felt, well, the time in Pune is finishing. Where do we want to go? Where do we want to live? We want to, be under meditators. We want to be in a beautiful place. So we do the whole world tour with courses. I was already a little bit famous as a therapist. So we went to Italy and to Spain and to Canada and to America and to Hawaii and to Australia. And then we found this incredible place here that 3 sannyasins has bought. There were 400 acres and they wanted to do a commune. And we said, okay, this could be something. So we had a little bit of money from our skiing and sailing. And we put a deposit on the land here. And then we stayed in Pune another year. In 1996, we came here against all odds, because the people who had bought the place, one was Osho's pilot. He had died in a plane crash. The other was Latifa. She opened a hotel in Germany from her parents. And the third one was Niten, who was also in the plane crash but survived. And he was just in hospital, so we didn't know anyone here. But we just thought, okay, we're going to start this. So we started a meditation group. Nobody was coming. We started to organize my courses that were very famous in Pune. Nobody was coming. We said, what are we doing here? But we loved the place, and we loved the ocean and the surfing and the nature. So we just finished the house, and just a month before the house was finished, I got all these invitations from all over the world. Nura started the Arasoma, so she was invited to Brazil, and I was invited to Japan and Korea, and then Taiwan, and then China, and then Sweden, and suddenly I had invitations all over, but not in Australia. And so in a way it was nice, because we were traveling, and then we were coming back here for gardening, for surfing, for swimming, and then some courses started. But in that time, I was getting more and more desperate about my freedom, about waking up, about whatever they call it, enlightenment. It's a big word, but I thought, so many of my friends started to wake up, and what about me? I mean, what's the difference? I was really getting more and more desperate. So I did the Path of Love. That was in 1999. And then this spiritual teacher Gangaji came here. I don't know if you heard of Gangaji.
Yes.
Anyway, she came here and held satsang. And I didn't want to go, because I thought, I don't want another master at all. If I cannot wake up with Osho, then forget it. It needs to happen with Osho. I was very attached. So then, I went to one satsang with Gangaji, and I was crying, and I was desperate, and she touched me so deeply, just that presence. And then I felt, well, anyway, now I'm a sinner in a way. Now I betray my master, so why not betray him completely and go to a retreat with Gangaji? And that was the retreat was near Melbourne, in a little village, very beautiful. And the evening before the retreat started, I was in such a turmoil. I couldn't sleep. Nura always said, come on, relax, it's all fine. but I was burning. So I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and went into the dark forest and just walking. And then it got slowly light, and I came to a bench at the edge of the forest overlooking these beautiful hills. And literally, there was just a moment where everything stopped. I was sitting there, and my whole crazy mind just stopped, finished. And I looked around, and I don't know if you have had these glimpses, looked around, and everything I see is me. Everything. Tree, ants, concrete bench, animals, sounds, everything is me. But not as a identity. It is just, I don't exist separate from anything else. Or I exist as everything else, which is for the mind impossible to understand. And with it came, which was of course also the mind, with it came, aha, that's what they talk about. That's what Osho talks about. It's totally simple. It has always been like this. It's not something extraordinary. It's not something special. It is actually nothing. I am nothing separate. I am just everything. And with it came a sense, well, whatever my mind, if it comes back, and I knew it will come back, if my mind comes back, I will never forget. And then I came home, and Nura was just waking up, and I just said, Nura, I think I got it. And she said, come on, Rahasya, come on. You're on a trip. I said, well, whatever, I may be on a trip, but it's a very beautiful trip. It's so simple.
Okay.
I like that.
I like that.
And after all, Osho is not so jealous, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So for my mind, it was puzzling because my mind looked for the great firework and, what Osho talked about, his enlightenment. And this was, even though it was so vast, it was totally natural. It was, yeah, of course. How could I ever not see this? It's just that for a while, it actually lasted for the state lasted for 3 months, is that there was no projection on things, no labeling on things. Anywhere I would look, I couldn't say this is a flower or this is a tree. It's like, it's a mystery. No? It's something part of me, another expression of me. Anyway, so this was the experience, and of course my mind doubted it completely. So that was good. Then we went to the first satsang in Gangaji, and I was, I didn't want to say anything, but then my hand went up, and then she saw me and called me. There were 300 people, and I shared with Gangaji what was happening. And she said, well, that's what everybody's looking for, your home. So that confirmation in a way was important for my mind to say, well, you don't need to make anything special out of it because it's not. Everybody is this. They just don't see it. And I will never forget. So then at the time, thanks God, I was already kind of a therapist and helping people, to not get too identified. So the experience, of course, faded, but the realization didn't fade. This is it. So then I did the stupid thing. I call it stupid, but it was also important for me to cut all the exit holes going back. I wrote to my friends about what was happening, and of course, half of them were very angry, telling me how I'm on a trip, and the other half were kind of very happy and wanted to sit in satsang with me. So it was these both things, and then some friends organized a beautiful retreat in Sweden, no, in Norway, in the south of Norway. And since then, kind of my whole work was the same, but it changed. Of course, the whole attention was more on that which is aware rather than the content of awareness, because the content keeps changing. Spiritual experiences come and go. So I feel I disappeared a little bit more, or the recognition that I have never been a person, that I'm always a presence. It's not a form, it's not the personality is just this code. So that deepened, and that's what I'm sharing, I'm sharing it in simple courses and meditations and in groups. And I don't feel like being anything special, it's like everybody is that. I look at people and say, oh, they're all Buddhas. How come they don't see it?
Maybe it's the most difficult part of it, to tell people, to convince them.
Yeah, well, I didn't need to convince them. It was more like I need to put it out to cut, the way back. Whatever people would do with it it's fine. And I remember the first time I had a satsang, because I felt I need to share this in satsang. I for weeks, actually for months, with each satsang evening I was sharing, I was totally astonished that anybody would come. So there were quite a few people that suddenly came. And then I thought, they're going to kill me. I mean, who am I to pretend anything or to declare anything? And nobody killed me. They were all very sweet and asking questions. So it was a miracle that nobody killed me.
Verdade.
And then I kind of, I mean, now these years we're in a totally different time. So many people are waking up in this, so especially through Moji and other teachers. So it's not such a big thing, thanks God, anymore, because it's not a big thing. It is just simply being present to what is. That's all.
Divya, you want to ask him something?
No. Question. Stop.
Okay.
That's very good.
As palavras,
all
olha.
questions disappear.
Yes. Yes.
The big mind guy here is me. I work as a lawyer. Osho said, lawyers don't get enlightened. So I just gave up already. So I have no trouble.
No, lawyers don't get enlightened as long as they think they are lawyers.
Yes.
The moment you recognize that you are playing the game, you're already enlightened.
Viu?
Yes. How long ago was your experience in the forest?
That was in 1999. And somehow my little ego, and I could say maybe later my spiritual ego, wanted to grasp the experience for a while, and I was a little bit holy, but that has left, thanks God. So with 1999, I remember Osho saying that, in a normal development, latest when you're 49, you should be awake. So that I just got 49 in 1999.
Wow,
Hum,
wow, that's
uau!
beautiful, 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 beautiful.
Eu queria saber uma coisa, na verdade, se a experiência de se sentir conectado com o todo, se ela continua forte como foi no começo, ou se de alguma forma isso se adaptou.
She's asking if this experience of being one with the whole that you expressed just before, if it keeps the same way or if it's changing with time.
It keeps,
how is it?
it definitely keeps changing. Every experience keeps changing. The experiences, how to say, they are becoming much more normal because the mind, it's only the mind that wants to see them as something special. But in another way, quite a bit later, like in 2005, 6 or 7, I had incredible divine experiences that were completely unexpected, you know, just lying on my bed, having this descent of, may sound strange now because when I talk about it, it's a mental story, but the experience of being Krishna, of being Shiva, of being Kuan Yin, of being all these so-called gods and goddesses, and understanding the vibrational field that gives the explanation for them. For example, I was in India in the Oneness University at the time, and we didn't do anything. We were in a private camp, and we were just lying on our beds and taking walks in the forest. It was a 3 weeks retreat, and a whole day I was Ganesha, and I finally understood why they call Ganesha the remover of obstacles and the guardian of the house. And so a lot of insights that were connected to these mythological figures as an inner experience, so I could understand how some cultures actually have created this form so that they can pray to it, not recognizing that that form is an expression of their own consciousness. You know? So there were very, very deep, profound experiences, and then, you know, and then just day-to-day living, no special spiritual experience. But the background, the only thing that I can say what is permanent is not a state, is not an experience, it's not a knowing. It is the obvious situation that whatever my mind tells me, I'm never that. I'm always that which is aware of all experience. It doesn't matter if it's a big experience, the mind loves it as a entertainment, or a small experience. Doesn't matter because I'm always that which is aware, and that which is aware, if I look deeply, and you can look deeply inside of you, you will not find anyone. You don't find awareness. It doesn't have a form, doesn't have a color, doesn't have a shape, doesn't have a substance, doesn't have a limit. But it's obvious I must be that. You know, if I say, well, now I'm sad, I couldn't say it if I wouldn't be aware of the experience of sadness. So I'm still the awareness. I'm angry. I couldn't say it if I wouldn't be the awareness of anger. You know, or I feel so sick. I wouldn't say it if I wouldn't be the awareness of sickness. I'm never the content. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No? Yes. Maybe we have time for one more question, if you may.
Absolutely.
Yes, you said.
Absolutely.
You said you've seen other friends of you that are waking up, right? You see it happening around. And my concern is with the planet and with humanity. Seems like unconsciousness is still prevailing, let's say like that. What could you say about that? Osho always talked about 10,000 Buddhas, that we would be the...
Well, I don't have the big hope or the big vision, because that would take me away from the present moment. But what I see in the present moment, and what I see also with my new partner, is I and everybody else, and I share that a lot in the courses, I am more free to live loving kindness and to share that. And you know, I do this couple groups called the Art of Love and Intimacy for couples. We did one in Ilabella with Sita. She organized it. And you know, to see that couples that may have had a lot of trouble and a lot of power struggles and a lot of relationship troubles, when they so much more easily get the experience that you don't have to put any energy into your problems. They are there, let them be there. They are just appearing as experiences, but you can put your attention to loving kindness, because that's who we are, not as a nice thing, but as living, as allowing that core of love that we are to live. And I see it with couples, many couples, or many people who come to satsang, they get this. They are more and more friendly to their friends, and they're more and more loving and supportive. And wherever our energy goes, our attention goes, is where our energy flows. So I see in the circle, I mean, we are blessed here. It's a little bit like Alto Paraíso. Byron Bay is kind of a spiritual hub. But I meet incredible people there, you know, that are so loving and open and supportive and creative. And if that will save the world, I don't know, hopefully, because it needs more and more and more and more people, so that the whole destructive mind doesn't have a root. And we can uproot the mind when people discover, if you, instead of seeking for love, you discover you are love, and then you want to share it. It's impossible not to share it. You know? So it's like deviate the attention from the negative and problem-oriented mind. And I know that mind because I've been a therapist, and I was like a hyena on problems. It's like, oh, you got a problem, let me fix it. You know? Yeah, I have a job. Yeah. And that, yeah, I was always happy. You know, the therapist mind is like a hyena jumping on problems.
Yes.
And you know, and funny now if I read Osho, in so many ways, he talks about it. You know, put your energy into who you are, into joy, into love, into creation, into celebration. So I do see a great hope for humanity if this spreads, and if the madness spreads too much, then maybe the experiment humanity has failed and we all go down the drain. That's also okay. Who we are doesn't die. Awareness doesn't die. It was never born.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you very much for these loving moments with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And yeah, good. If there's any feedback or response, just let me know.
Ok,
Yeah.
ok.
And I do hope that one day we can travel again, and maybe I come back to Brazil.
Eba, yes.
Yes.
I have many friends in Brazil, Kelly and Sita and Samvada. Yeah, Linda.
Linda. Ai,
Well,
muito
you take care, and thank you for inviting me, and much love to you all. Yeah?
much love. Muito obrigada.
De nada. I have to dig deep in my pocket of Brazilian, of Portuguese.
Muito bom.
Muito bom.
Muito bom, muito bom. Thank you very much.
Ich liebe dich.
Yeah.
Ich liebe dich.
Ja, ich liebe euch auch.
Wir lieben Osho. Ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch, aber nur ein bisschen.
Oh, du kannst ein bisschen Deutsch. Sehr
Nur
gut.
ein bisschen.
Gut, ganz viel Liebe und dicke Umarmung. Ne? Okay. Ciao,
Dankeschön. Ciao, ciao.
ciao.
Ai, gente, aí. Uau. Uau. Travou, será? Estão falando aqui? Travou?
Não, eu vi algumas pessoas falando que travou, mas eu acho que mais é a conexão local delas, porque para a gente fluiu, aqui em casa fluiu, só aquele momento que deu aquela pausa, não sei o que houve no início, de
Entrou uma
resto fluiu
ligação
bem
para
aqui.
mim.
Aí eu recomendo, essas pessoas que travaram muito, eu recomendo que vejam, tento ver no outro horário, porque isso fica disponível na página Divyadez, depois, a partir de, sei lá, alguns 1 ou 2 dias no YouTube, né? Isso devia... Tá? Eu tenho uma lista aqui de pessoas que estavam conosco.
Ai, gente, tanto coração, tanta curtida, tanta...
Sananda, Miguel Fine,
amor,
Nirav Suvira, Prachanto, Lisboa, Sati Bode, Lisboa, Jane Prachante, que nos deu um apoio essa semana para buscarmos alguém muito especial, Segredo de Estado, Maria Cláudia Tombolato, Diana Olassa, querida, Fátima Dara Lúcia, Anand Badra, que nos apoiou tanto com o Prachanto, um beijo. Vamos ver se a gente faz outra com ele. Ulisses Miguez, o Gita Charya, que, aliás... Ramiata Anandi, Sônia Bergamaschi, Visadjana Basile e Swami East West, nosso querido cantor maravilhoso, Sinésio Rocha, Tula Estratia, Diana Olassa, meus amores, Fuleira, não sei como é que fala aqui, Nick Lank, Beatriz Givana Kawal, vou dar o spoiler, que estará conosco semana que vem, Sarrádio Givan, Lícia Kilman e Carmen Silvia Altuori. Um beijo para todos que estão com a gente.
Ai, gente, obrigada pela presença. Que delícia de momento, né?
Essa entrevista foi feita a partir da Austrália, onde ele mora, onde a nossa nave pousou. Semana que vem vai pousar em Ubatuba, aliás, vai retornar para Ubatuba, porque já estivemos lá com o nosso querido Avaroha. E, aliás, vai pousar e vai permanecer 1 semana em Ubatuba, porque vai ter 2 de Ubatuba seguidas.
É verdade. Alô, Ubatuba, né? Que eu sou louca. Alô, Ubatuba. Ai, gente. Coisa boa, né? Eu fico assim derretida, vocês sabem disso, né? E a simplicidade é bom a gente lembrar dessa simplicidade, A gente, uma vez a Rahasya falou assim, que as pessoas imaginam uma consciência maior como algo, né, para cima, e que na verdade é algo mais que você, né, se fica aqui com você, né? É diferente. E essa explicação dele achei tão no ponto, assim, tão lindo. Beijo, Rahasya, tô fã dele agora. Não perco uma
Então,
live dele.
vocês pegaram quem está conosco ainda, que está conosco ainda, ao final ele falou, se alguém tiver perguntas para fazer, pode fazer que a gente encaminha, depois ele, não sei como é que ele vai responder, mas, enfim, quem quiser perguntar alguma coisa para ele, pode perguntar.
Sim.
E, Divya, cada convidado tem um sabor diferente, tem um sabor especial, mas tem uma coisa de amorosidade comum a todos. É
Amorosidade.
isso que eu acho que é o combustível dessa nave Osho.
É verdade, é verdade.
Gente, obrigado por estarem com a gente, né?
Não quero falar tchau, calma. Não, chega, mas o quê?
A gente vai ficar aqui falando bobagem, ainda esperando que o pessoal querendo fazer alguma coisa vai ficar aqui.
Querendo fazer uma coisa?
Gente, muito
Não,
obrigado. Um prazer estar com a gente.
não, é brincadeira, gente.
Já?
Cada convidado é um deleite para nós e para essa galera que já está se reunindo aqui toda terça, e a gente faz isso tudo com muito, muito carinho. E olha, te fala, é nutrição para a semana toda. Até o próximo. É, meu amigo.
É isso aí. Segue o Trololó.
Segue o Trololó, minha gente. Um beijo, boa noite, fiquem bem. A live fica gravada aqui, né? E amanhã eu coloco no YouTube. Beijos, beijos.
Beijo grande.
Tchau, meus amores. Ai, peraí, é aqui.